Camel, Filters and Pheromones is the 12th episode of the first season of Two and a Half Men, and I really enjoyed this one. I'm currently rewatching Two and a Half Men after having been obsessed with it in about 2010, 2011, and then I kind of stopped watching it, and I'm really enjoying rediscovering it. And this episode is one that I remember really vividly, and I think that's because of the character of Prudence. She's played by Megan Fox, and Prudence is Berta's granddaughter. And there will be spoilers from this point on, as I go into a bit of detail about things that happened in the episode and mention some personal highlights. So Prudence is at Charlie's house because Berta is looking after her and doesn't trust her to be on her own. And I love the fact that to begin with, it sounds like her granddaughter is a child because she's busy playing with Jake. And then we learn, of course, that she's a 16-year-old girl who has more flesh on display than she has covered up. And I love how Charlie responds to this. Charlie is adamant he's not going to go anywhere near her because it's just not worth the risk. Not just because she's only 16, but also because she's Berta's granddaughter. And Jake has the opposite intentions, and Jake with his goofy juice, I just thought was absolutely adorable in this. I did feel like I was quite on edge throughout the whole episode, waiting for something to happen, for somebody to slip up, for Prudence to do something inappropriate. And these things do happen, but not at the times when I expected. And I feel like it's quite tense, but in a really enjoyable, unpredictable way. As I said, I could remember this episode really well, but I couldn't remember every tiny detail. And I appreciate that my memory can't remember everything because it meant that it was a little bit more suspenseful and unclear what was going to happen with this character. I think Megan Fox gives a great performance. Prudence, I don't like Prudence as a person, but I think she's a brilliantly written character. I mean, she's a pretty typical character. She's not that unique. She's not that complex. But I think the way she's written within this episode is really effective, and she seems to just know exactly what to say at the right moments to make Alan and Charlie feel really uncomfortable. And that's great fun to watch. It's also nice to have Charlie and Alan on the same side for a change, because it's usually Charlie chasing after a girl, Alan telling him not to do it. But with this one, they both know, don't go there. And I think it's a change of dynamic, and I really enjoyed that. Berta, of course, was fantastic in this. But for me, what I loved the most is Rose. The fact that Rose was just on board with this role play immediately. And of course she would be, because she's role-playing Charlie's girlfriend. But the fact that she kind of understood straight away what was going on and what was required of her. And then she obviously jumped in with both feet, and she was just fantastic. And I always think that Melanie Lynskey does a brilliant job with the character, and that really comes across in this episode. I also really enjoyed the conversation Alan and Charlie had with Jake, telling Jake that he doesn't need to tell Judith everything. He doesn't need to tell his mother everything that happened. It's maybe not the best advice, but I can completely understand where they're coming from. And I found that was funny, but what Jake said to Judith right at the end, I loved. I just think Jake has some of the best lines, and it's really great because usually he doesn't need to set up his own comedy. His comedy is usually just one line off of the back of something somebody else has said, and it's just so brilliant. And Jake is obviously, at this stage at least, a very, very entertaining character. Needless to say, I think that this is a very funny, very entertaining episode. Some great characters, great dynamic between Charlie and Alan. Camel, Filters and Pheromones is a pretty decent episode, and it doesn't surprise me that I remembered this one quite vividly. I really enjoyed it.